What up, Homedawgs? My name is Gokey Gamer, and welcome everybody to week 7 of the NBBL, where this week we're going to be taking on none other than Coach FrostyRandom of the Tuscaloosa Toxic Chains. Words, I know how to say them sometimes. Bleh. Now, believe it or not, we're actually right next to each other in the current playoff rankings. I am at number 5, and Frosty is at number 4. This battle is extremely important for both of us because whoever wins this battle is guaranteed a spot in playoffs, and whoever loses, while they're not completely kicked out of playoffs, will have to fight a lot harder to guarantee a spot. So needless to say, we are both fighting very intensely for a win, and we've both got pretty phenomenal teams. So without any further ado, let's get into the team breakdown. Now, Frosty has got quite the scary team with some phenomenal synergy. Frosty's team consists of Iron Valiant, Ting-Lu, a Gyarados that can turn into a flying grass or ground type, Jirachi, Pecharunt, a Tsareena that can turn into a grass, fire, or fairy type, Florges, Noivern, Entei, Electros, and a Glimmet to round things out. Overall, I love how this team looks. Pecharunt, Ting-Lu, and Intimidate Gyarados pretty much stop any physical sweeper. Since Ting-Lu can focus on the specially defensive side as well, it and Florges make for a fantastic special wall. My opponent has some fantastic speed tiers with mons like Noivern, Entei, Electros, and Tsareena, and of course, Iron Valiant is always a terrifying threat. In terms of what I'm expecting to come, I think Iron Valiant, Ting-Lu, and Pecharunt all have to come. I think Florges has to come for Darkrai specifically, and Noivern, Entei, Tera Tsareena and Gyarados, and Jirachi also have a good chance of making an appearance too. To be quite honest, I can actually see all of these Pokemon possibly making an appearance, so we've got a massive challenge ahead of us. However, I think the team I've got can pretty much handle anything that my opponent wants to throw at me. So without any further ado, let's get into what I'm bringing and why I'm bringing it. So first up on the team is going to be none other than Car the Donphan. Holding the heavy-duty boots once again, this week we're rocking the moves Earthquake, Ice Shard, Knockoff, and Rapid Spin, as well as Max Attack and Max Defense. Car is going to be one of our 2 physical walls this week. All of the moves are pretty self-explanatory: EQ for stab, Ice Shard for priority, Stealth Rocks for getting up hazards, and Rapid Spin for hazard control, as well as boosting up my speed for a possible endgame sweep. I'm really hoping that this set comes in clutch this week, because I can definitely see Donphan putting in a crap ton of work. Next up on the team is our other physical wall this week, Purple Rain the Alomomola. This is pretty much almost the exact same set you've seen before, rocking the Rocky Helmet for physical chip alongside max HP and defense stats with the moves Scald, Flip Turn, Wish, and Light Screen. If you've seen my previous games, you know what this Pokemon can do, so hopefully our Wish Passing Fish can do what she does best this week. After Purple Rain is our speedy chipper, Prince the Pheasantipity. Holding the Black Sludge this week for reliable HP recovery, we've also got the moves Moonblast, Acid Spray, Roost, and Dark Pulse, and we're rocking the max special attack. Enough speed to outspeed a timid Pecharunt, and the rest being put into HP with the ability Toxic Chain as well. Long story short, this is our speedy chipper, hoping to proc a Toxic Chain or 2, as well as weakening things down with some fast attacks. I think Prince is going to be able to put in a crap ton of work for one of our final 3 Pokemon to sweep the rest of the game. Speaking of those 3 Pokemon, the first Pokemon that I'll be talking about here is none other than Swamp Thing the Brew BONNET. Rocking the Tera Poison this week with a clear amulet to block Intimidate Gyarados and Parting Shot Pecharunt, Swamp Thing has got max attack and max special defense alongside the moves Seed Bomb, Sucker Punch, Growth, and Stomping Tantrum. This functions as not only a revenge sweeper, but also a specially defensive wall that can deal a crap ton of damage. I almost ran Booster Energy, but I wanted to avoid the Intimidate Gyarados, essentially making the item null and void. So I'm running the clear amulet so that way we don't get our attack lowered at all. I've also got Tera Poison because defensively it looks absolutely phenomenal here, as I can 2-shot a Ting-Lu after a growth with Seed Bomb, my opponent doesn't have a Psychic type, and I can't get poisoned by Pecharunt. And I also resist several Pokemon stabs, such as Iron Valiant, Tsareena, and Florges. I'm really hoping this set pops off this week, as Swamp Thing definitely needs some redemption after hitting themselves in confusion last week. Next up on the team is one of our 2 endgame sweepers, Best Friend the Ogre Pod Hearthflame. Rocking the Mold Breaker and Hearthflame mask as always, this week she's a jolly nature to outspeed a max speed Entei and Jirachi alongside max attack, the rest of investment being in HP, and the moves Ivy Cudgel, Power Whip, Quick Attack, and Stomping Tantrum. This set goes absolutely crazy this week, with pretty much the only Noivern being able to reliably KO her with an Air Slash or Hurricane. But even then, we've got Quick Attack just in case even Noivern or Iron Valiant are chipped enough. Stomping Tantrum is there for coverage versus Entei and Pecharunt, particularly if I miss a Power Whip or Pecharunt comes in on a Quick Attack. And of course, Ivy Cudgel and Power Whip are the super powerful stab moves that almost no Pokemon can switch in against. Once again, Best Friend looks amazing here, and I'm super excited to hopefully see it pop off. And finally, our other endgame sweeper slash revenge killer this week is none other than Night Terror the Darkrai. Holding the Chopple Berry just in case I'm in a situation where I have to take a vacuum wave from Iron Valiant or Jirachi, this week I'm rocking the moves Dark Pulse, Focus Blast, Calm Mind, and Psyshock with max special attack and enough speed to be the fastest thing on the field, barring a Scarf or Tailwind. Long story short, Darkrai just comes in and clicks buttons. Quite easily, in fact. Even Floor just isn't going to want to take a Psyshock from this insane threat, and I really think this is Night Terra's game to claim lives in. And that's the team we're rocking out with this week. Obviously, the main standout this week is that there is no Colossal! I know, it's absolutely absurd, but you know, we can't really bring Volga every week. We've got to give other mons a chance to shine. Girder and Vikavolt were originally on this team as well, but ultimately both just didn't do enough with their respective sets that also worked well with the other mons on this team. With that being said though, I'm super excited for this battle, and I'd say it's finally time to jump into it. Blop, and we are back! I am so excited and extremely nervous for this fight. Good luck and have fun to my opponent as always. Let's get into it. Going into the team preview, I see the 6 Pokemon I more or less expected, with Tsareena being the exception. Hopefully this doesn't completely ruin my plans. Alright, let's see what we see here. We see Iron Valiant, Tsareena, Noivern, Jirachi, Ting-Lu, and Pecharunt. Alright, very glad not to see a Florges. That's extremely good for Darkrai, so I will take that. No Glimmin and Electros is also pretty nice. No Gyarados as well is definitely really good for us, so I think I will honestly take this team. I will take this team. Okay, so I have some time to think. I think leading Donphan here is actually really good. The sooner I set up rocks, the better. And I think the only defogger, well, okay, Tsareena does have Rapid Spin, so I do have to keep that in mind, but leading a Sturdy Mon is just good in general, I think. And I highly doubt in this case, I think Noivern and Iron Val are going to be the endgame sweepers here. Jirachi could be as well, but, you know, we'll see. The sooner I Tera Brew Bonnet, the better as well, just so that way, like, Pecharunt doesn't cause me any issues. I decided my best lead is none other than Car the Donphan, hoping to get up rocks immediately as my opponent leads with Tsareena, which is the worst possible lead. I really need to get better at choosing my lead when I don't have a dedicated one. Thankfully, this gives me a free switch into Prince Serendipity, who manages to dodge the incoming Power Whip. And while that doesn't end up mattering a ton, it's still nice to have the little bit of extra HP. Next up, I decide to try firing off a Dark Pulse, predicting the Jirachi switch in. Dark Pulse is 29 to 34% to Jirachi, so I think regardless here, I think I should just Acid Spray and attack what's in front of me. It is pretty, well actually no. You know what, I'm going to click Dark Pulse here, because I don't think there's any reason for them not to switch in Jirachi here. Yeah, I think Jirachi's coming in here. And we'll also get some really good intel on this set. Dusty. That is Jirachi, alright. And thankfully that's exactly what ends up happening, as we get a decent chunk of damage off on the Granter of Wishes. Since I was unsure what set Jirachi was, and an offensive set could deal way too much damage to me, I decided to switch back into Car, which once again ends up paying off as Jirachi reveals Thunder Wave, which doesn't work thanks to my ground typing. Overall, this is going extremely well so far. After this, I try to set up my rocks again as Tsareena comes back in. Now, hindsight is 20/20, I don't think this was the right play, as Tsarena's almost always run Rapid Spin, and there's no reason why this one wouldn't. As a result, Tsareena remains at full HP as I switch once again into Serendipity, as Tsareena clicks Rapid Spin, getting up to a +1 speed and doing a decent chunk to Prince. This time, predicting my opponent to switch into a Ting-Lu, I decide to go for an Acid Spray to lower a Pokemon special defense, minus Jirachi. However, this time my opponent decides to actually stay in and Terrestrialize, revealing the Fire typing and firing off a Tera Blast. That does about half HP. This just got a whole lot scarier. While I do have a lot of answers for this monster, I don't exactly have a lot of switch-ins for it. Not wanting to let Prince go down just yet, I opt to switch into Car again, who ends up tanking another incoming Tera Blast decently well. Once again though, I really don't think I made the right play here. I really do think I should have kept Car at full HP for Sturdy. While it's not extremely critical typically, and I do have Wish Passing Alomomola, you never know when you might need the Sturdy proc to guarantee live a hit. It's about this point where I realize I'm in a really tight spot. None of my Pokemon really want to take a hit from this insane threat. She outspeeds my entire team by this point. She probably has the ability Queenly Majesty, which prevents priority moves from triggering, and this could end up being not just a few deaths, but a Tsareena sweep. Unfortunately, my best bet is to hope for another Power Whip miss and Oko with a now super effective Earthquake. Come on, Car, drive yourself to victory! I mean, it could miss again. They could miss again, which would be really bad for them if they miss. So I'm just gonna click EQ here and hope they miss. Oof! I am so sorry. I'm so sorry, Frosty. This one definitely mattered. The first one didn't matter. This one definitely did. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad. I am so sorry. Holy crap, Car manages to dodge the attack and put a stop to this insane threat. Let's freaking go! Not gonna lie, I felt extremely bad for Frosty here, as we definitely got really lucky, but hey, I'll consider this payment for my horrible luck back in week 2. As it turns out, I'd learned after this battle that Tsareena was actually a weakness policy set, and since neither Ogerpon or Brute Bonnet would have been able to revenge Okoa with Stomping Tantrum, had Tsareena landed that Power Whip, this battle could have been over immediately. It just goes to show you that even if you prep to your absolute best for a Pokemon battle, sometimes RNG can just frick you over. All of that being said, this battle is far from over, as Frosty still has some extremely scary Pokemon in the back that can cause a crap ton of issues. Exhibit A being the Pokemon that comes in next, the always terrifying Iron Valiant. Not having any clue as to what set this is, and seeing that Purple Rain the Alomomola really didn't have a great matchup versus the rest of Frosty's team, and can live any hit that Iron Valiant wants to throw at me, as long as it's not a grass move, I decide to send in Purple Rain. I think actually, you know what, no, I'm gonna switch it to Alomomola here. I think I switch it to Alomomola because Alomomola really does not have an amazing matchup for the rest of this game. Yeah, this team is pretty anti-Alomomola. It does decent work against Ting-Lu, but that's it. So, Moonblast, we do see the special set. Wow, okay, good revenge. That also, I wonder if that is Specs damage as well. You know what, that's definitely fair after the last turn. Poor Purple Rain, man, she keeps dying to crits. While this death is quite unfortunate, this does give me critical intel. This Iron Valiant is Choice Specs. The only way Moonblast KO'd me here is if Iron Valiant got the crit with Choice Specs, meaning that we now have a pretty great idea of what this entails. Since Iron Val is locked into Moonblast, this brings in Swamp Thing for free, as now it's my turn to reveal my Tera type, being Poison. As expected, my opponent switches out into none other than Pecharunt, which works perfectly for me, as all I've got to do is click Growth to get a +1 attack, absolutely terrifying for my opponent. Next, I decide to click Sucker Punch, not only just in case Pecharunt goes for an attack, but also if it fails, Stomping Tantrum would double in power on the next turn. Frosty ends up going for Parting Shot, which fails thanks to our Held Clear amulet, but also makes Sucker Punch fail. This was also a bit of a slight misplay in my opinion. The only thing Pecharunt can really do that's a bit scary is set up with Nasty Plot, and even then, Hex really doesn't do that much to me, so Growth was free here regardless. The next turn, Frosty goes for a hard swap into Ting-Lu, who takes a decent chunk of damage on the incoming Stomping Tantrum that we click, doing double the damage since Sucker Punch failed during the last turn. As a result, during the next turn, all I gotta do is click a super boosted Seed Bomb, which easily picks off the unmovable wall that is Ting-Lu. Let's go, Swamp Thing! We love to see the redemption from last week. After Ting-Lu goes down, Jirachi comes back in, no doubt wanting to paralyze me with Thunder Wave. As a result, I can go for the easy switch in with Dogfan, once again absorbing the Thunder Wave with ease. Then, once again, I opt to click Rocks, just in case Jirachi tries to pick up the KO versus me, but Frost ends up switching into Noivern. Overall, not the best, but certainly not the worst either. All I gotta do here is go for a priority Ice Shard. I mean, Ice Shard does 70 to 83%. So do I wanna click that button? I think I do wanna click that button. I'm just gonna click Ice Shard. There's no reason for me not to here. Yeah, getting a bunch of damage off on this is really, really good. Hurricane, they do land the Hurricane, which makes sense. that does track again. A, my Hurricane luck is bad. B, they missed 2 Power Whips. I would hope that they would land that. I'm not gonna lie. Which does 3/4 of Noivern's HP, and Noivern ends up picking the KO versus us in return with a Hurricane. Again, completely valid considering I dodged 2 Power Whips. I then decide to send Swamp Thing back in, as I don't know if Noivern is Scarfed or not. Thankfully, Frosty actually decides to stay in and attack as I click Sucker Punch, which is absolutely massive for both the possible Ogerpon or Darkrai endgame sweeps. In response, my opponent decides to send in Jirachi once again. The only problem is, since Carr is dead, something is going to unfortunately get paralyzed. I decided the sacrifice will have to be Prince, as I felt he was the most sackable Pokemon compared to the remaining teammates. On the off chance my opponent overpredicts and switches out, I go for a Roost to restore my HP back up to full, and Jirachi ends up setting the rocks on my side of the field, which will unfortunately remain for the rest of the match. Not the worst thing in the world, but it does neuter Ogerpon quite a lot. Next, I decided to fire off a Dark Pulse to do some more chip against the infamous Wishmaker, and they actually fire off a Charge Beam, which thanks to the Serene Grace ability ends up raising Jirachi's special attack by 1 stage. Even though the Charge Beam didn't do much, Jirachi then fires off a Psychic to finish off Prince thanks to the +1 special attack boost during the next turn. Overall, this was extremely cool tech to see, but this just brings in Night Terror the Darkrai for free, as there's nothing stopping me from clicking Dark Pulse to pick up the KO. And speaking of, let's go Night Terror, finally picking up my KO, we'd love to see it. Unsurprisingly, this ends up bringing Iron Valiant back in, and while we do have Psyshock for this immense threat, unfortunately it doesn't quite KO, and I really value Night Terror for an easy KO against Pecharunt. So I decide to switch Best Friend in, not just as the unfortunate sack, but also because I'm hoping to get enough chip against Iron Valiant so that Darkrai can come back in and finish things off. As Best Friend comes in and takes a massive chunk from rocks, Iron Valiant reveals that they lock into the priority move Vacuum Wave, which doesn't actually KO us on the next turn, meaning we can fire off a hit for free. So I decide to click the move Quick Attack, not just because I was predicting a Pecharunt switch in and I could power up Stompy Tantrum, but also because, well, I wasn't thinking very clearly and forgot that Vacuum Wave will still go before Quick Attack due to Iron Valiant being faster. Yet another mistake I made during this game. I should have prioritized getting as much chip off on this major threat that I could, as it was the only thing stopping Night Terror from winning the rest of the game. Yeah, I could have just Ivy Cudgeled. I didn't think that through very clearly, but that's fine. And the worst part is, had I clicked Ivy Cudgel, then Iron Valiant definitely would have been put in range of a Psyshock, and then Darkrai could just easily win the game from here, but alas, I didn't end up doing that, so as a result, Best Friend goes down, and I'm unsure if Iron Valiant will be weakened enough to die to a Psyshock, even after damage from the rocks. As a result, I end up sending Swamp Thing back in to hopefully finish off this game. As expected, Iron Valiant ends up switching back into Pecharunt and then responds to fire off a Grove to get myself to +1 attack once again. And now it's time to debate on what my next move should be. I don't want Swamp Thing to become chipped down enough to where a Choice Specs Iron Valiant can knock me out with a Vacuum Wave, so I need this Haunted Berry dead as soon as possible before it fires off too many hexes. I decide to go for the simplest play, being a Stomping Tantrum, which unfortunately doesn't do enough for the 2-shot, and we're forced to tank our first hex. Next, I opt to go for another Growth, bringing me to a +2 as I correctly predict Pecharunt going for a Recover, restoring their HP back to nearly full. Then, I decide to go for a Sucker Punch, which ends up revealing that Pecharunt was actually holding the Colbur Berry to weaken Dark-type attacks made against it, but even then, it's still not enough to prevent a 2-shot on the next turn as we tank another Light Hex. Then, predicting another Recover, I decide to go for another Stomping Tantrum, and while this extremely annoying berry ended up clicking Hex instead and doing another chunk of damage, I end up managing to actually pick up the KO versus Pecharunt, bringing in Iron Valiant and basically guaranteeing us the victory. Bada bing, bada boom, Pecharunt is dead. All that's left is Iron Valiant, which means I'm pretty sure we will win this game. I fire off the easiest Sucker Punch of my career as Iron Valiant locks themselves in the Moonblast, and Swamp Thing actually lives! Granted, I know that I resisted the hit, but come on! It's a freaking Choice Specs Moonblast from a Iron Valiant! Unfortunately, this does mean that had I fired off a Seed Bomb, I could have picked up the KO and won the battle with a 2-0 victory, but I still made the right play here as a crit would have been devastating. Speaking of crits, Swamp Thing comes full circle in their redemption after last week as their Sucker Punch ends up critting Iron Valiant, almost picking up the KO, and then dies to another Moonblast, bringing in our last Mon, Night Terror. Of course, Night Terror is able to finish off Iron Valiant with a Psyshock, and as a result, we managed to scrape by this extremely rough game with a 1-0 victory. And that officially locks us into playoffs. Alright, so Darkrai should be able to finish things off. Let's go, Darkrai finally picking up a KO. We love to see it. Brute Bonnet really redeemed themselves after last week, which is really, really good. We will gladly take that. This game was a lot, to say the least. Had Tsareena actually managed to land the Power Whip versus Carr, then we straight up could have been 6-0'd in this game. We also made a crap ton of costly mistakes in this fight too, that in a different universe would have resulted in a loss even after all the lucky RNG. Honestly, you could make the argument that I didn't deserve this win. Luck definitely played a massive factor here, and without it we definitely wouldn't have won. I remember after this game feeling really bad and feeling like in a way I didn't deserve this W, but then I remember what happened in previous weeks as well as in previous leagues, and how many battles I've lost due to bad RNG. OGs from the main channel will remember the fact that despite bringing it multiple weeks, I never landed a Meteor Beam with Celesteela back in Gen 8, and that cost me multiple games. Or for a more recent example, look at our Week 2 game from this league. Had Alomomola managed to survive the insane onslaught of bad luck against her in that game, there was a very good chance we would have won. Long story short, RNG is just part of the game. It's what keeps battles fresh and exciting. Sure, RNG could cost you a game like it did here, but RNG could also save you from being backed up into a corner, resulting in the ultimate comeback story. Heck, Frosty did an amazing job adjusting and playing accordingly, taking advantage of my mistakes and nearly pulling the game back despite a really rough luck early on. Granted, the crit versus Purple Rain and Noivern landing the Hurricane both mattered quite a bit in this game as well, so it wasn't like luck was completely against them, but even then, Frosty really played well in this game, and they should be proud of their performance. Speaking of, if you haven't already, be sure to check out Frosty's channel down in the description below. Their channel will be the first link available, and if they release a video of this game, that'll be linked right below it. Really well played by my opponent. I think, honestly, if Tsareena had landed that Power Whip, this would be a very different game. So, definitely got very lucky with that. But, like, the Brute Bonnet, being able to do Brute Bonnet things was also very, very nice. Choice Specs Iron Valiant was a very, very good bring. I do salute them on that. That was absolutely a fantastic bring. But yeah, GG's to Frosty. I'm so sorry again about that miss. That is quite unfortunate. Let's go, Darkrai picking up a KO finally! Finally, in a game that counts, Darkrai picks up a KO! Woo! Oh boy. I got very lucky with that, and I am very glad that they landed the Hurricane to KO Donphan, because if they missed that too, that would have really sealed the deal for them, I think. But overall, like, Frosty made a really great comeback for sure. I definitely did not play that endgame very well, I don't think. And then there's like a couple of other plays that I made too that were the Ogerpon was very much a throw. If I had just hit an Ivy Cudgel, I wouldn't have had to play this hard for the end game, because then Iron Valiant would die to Darkrai, and I had the Chople Berry, so I would have lived the Vacuum Wave regardless. But regardless, GG's to Frosty once again. I wish you luck with your playoff push. And, yeah, we are guaranteed to spot in playoffs now, baby. Let's go! We'd love to see it. All right. I'll pass it on to future me. And, yeah, we'd love to see it. Heck yeah! Woo! Basically, sure, you can make the argument that I didn't deserve this win. But I've also had many battles that, quite frankly, I didn't deserve to lose. Pokemon battling does require a lot of skill, but even with that skill, we're all at the mercy of the random luck that could occur. It's our job to minimize that luck going against us, but let's be honest, luck is a big part of what makes these games fun. And I, for one, am thankful that it worked with us this time and not against us. Cause now, we're not gonna have to worry about securing a spot for playoffs! Xand, you're gonna be next! Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed them, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, as it really does help out the channel a ton. Definitely be sure to check out our previous games as well as the SDA if you haven't already, along with my main channel and Nuzlocke channel for more content from me. If you want to show support financially and earn some unique perks, then be sure to check out my Ko-Fi link down below as well, and as always, I'll see you soon! In the next video. Peace out, mates!